Explain the situation to me one more time, little guy.
Right. A skeletonized corpse was found in a river 50 kilometers out of the city. We don't know who it is, but evidence suggests it's female. A homeless man out walking his dog reported finding it. The preliminary cause of death is being ruled as a drowning.
Like you said, the body is completely skeletonized. We won't be able to ID her until we reform her skeleton.
I also have records from the questioning of the body's finder.
Huh, I'm impressed. For you, that's a brilliant move.
Please, that's not much of a compliment. I'll leave the recorder here. Check it when you need to.
Good. Let's begin. Show me how your life's thread was set.
Dr. Kimishima, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Why are you calling for me on the intercom?
Well, it's about the corpse.
Huh. I do have the corpse here, in a bag. Is this some kind of joke?
Oh, sorry, that was the most reliable way to get it to you. The skeleton had fallen apart, so I had them transported like this.
Huh, I see. So what am I supposed to do with it?
Please work on putting it back together. I'll start with the body. So can you please start restoring the skull, Doctor?
All right, I'll take care of that.
Thank you. Let me know when you start on it. When you do, I'll come pick up the rest.
It's done. Let's take a look. Looking at this skull, I'd place the victim's age in the early 20s. That's rather young. The bone structure suggests a high probability that the victim is female. I might find something out if I have the FBI analyze it in
How's it going over there, Dr. Kimishima? I'm done with the body here.
Great timing. I just finished myself.
All right, I'll put the skull back with the rest of the skeleton.
Once that's done, let's begin investigating the corpse. The femurs of both legs have been fractured. The femur is the hardest bone in the human body. It would have taken a massive amount of power to break both of them at once. The little finger appears to be fractured here. What could have caused this bone to break? What's this? The bone's discolored? I've never seen anything like this before. I'll need a more detailed look at it. These are tire marks. So was the victim run over by a car? That doesn't make sense though, because the victim was... That's right. The corpse was found at a river. There may be some exceptions, but you usually don't find cars driving in the river. It's a bloodstain. However, it doesn't appear to have originated from a hemorrhaging. That's because... Yes. If this blood is from external injuries, then the clothing would be damaged as well. However, the clothes have no such marks. Could she have been hemorrhaging from some other reason? This is the necklace the victim was wearing. Is this stone agate? It's shattered in half. How much force would it take for this stone to break like that? In any case, this is unusual for a corpse that's supposedly drowned in the river. Hey, little guy, I'd like to get your opinion on something.
Me? Oh, I didn't think...
Enough chit-chat. I'm transferring some data over to you.
Oh, okay. What is this? Can you wait a moment? I'll compare it with the database here. It's as I thought. No matches. I've never seen this before. Not even at the place I used to work.
Huh. So does that mean you don't know the first thing about it?
I'm sorry, but that's correct.
Fine. At least I know now that there isn't any information.
Hey, can you see if they'll get me some of that Mooper's chicken, huh? Oh, this juicy fat drips out when you take a bite. Tasty. Huh? Sam ain't just a dog. He's my best friend in the whole world. Don't be stupid. You want to know how I found that body? It's all thanks to Sam, you know? Yeah. See, we were walking down by the river when old Sam, he suddenly runs off, and he comes back with a bone in his mouth. I took a better look, and damn, it ain't the lady's arm. It scared the hell out of me, you know? So I went and called the cops, huh? I ain't going near no dead body, that's just creepy. Oh, hey, if she was missing, was there any reward for finding her? I mean, dead or alive, right?
Little guy, that man who found the corpse might be telling us one hell of a lie.
What do you mean?
In his testimony, he claims that he never saw the corpse, correct?
Yes.
Yet there is something he said that he couldn't have known unless he had seen the corpse
There was? Wait, what was it?
Do I really have to point it out to you?
Yes, please.
Yeah. And he comes back.
He said that his dog had brought back an arm bone. Even for a forensic scientist, it would be difficult to determine the sex from just that. That means that the man who found the corpse is... That's right. He must have seen the corpse in person. He then made an assumption of the corpse's gender based on the remaining articles of clothing. All right, little guy. Let's look at the information in detail.
Sure, but why would he lie?
A good question. Here's one possible explanation. He didn't want the authorities to know that he had been at the scene.
But it's not a crime to discover a dead body. Why would he try to hide that?
The most likely reason why he didn't want it to be known is... Indeed. Because he tampered with the scene. It's likely that he did something that would get him in trouble if it was discovered.
Oh, I see. That would explain his behavior.
The question is, what did he do? Little guy? Go interrogate him once more.
Trust me. I'll make sure he doesn't hold anything back from me this time.
Hey, little guy, can you do me a favor and get a bone analysis?
Yes, of course. Is it to identify the body?
That's right. Start with dental records.
I'll get right on that. I'll let you know when the results come in.
Yes, please do. All right, then.
Oh, Dr. Kimishima, good timing. There's something I need to tell you.
I'm listening. What is it?
The team that collected the corpse has turned in an investigation report. It seems that a type of tick was found in the ground where the corpse is located.
Ticks?
Yes, depending on the season and environment, various insects are attracted to corpses. They normally leave once the body's been reduced to the bone, but some ticks burrow underground and remain there for a while afterward.
True. They'll leave eventually as well, but perhaps the ticks could tell us something. Right. We could use the ticks to determine how long the corpse had been there.
Amazing, Doctor. I didn't think you'd know about that.
So, was a time of death calculated?
Yes, it seems to have only been about a month ago. That's not too long, biologically speaking.
A month? True, that is rather fast for a corpse to have been skeletonized. All right. Thank you, little guy. The fractures on both legs match the locations of the tire marks left on the clothing. That means these fractures were... That's right. These fractures in the legs appeared when she was run over by a car. How then did these marks appear on a corpse found in the river? This is a new myth. That's all the information we can obtain from the corpse and other articles up to this point.
So, Dr. Kimishima, is the cause of death drowning after all?
No, there's a good possibility that the cause of death was something else. The damage to the skeleton is too severe for drowning to have been the cause. Her skull itself... Yes, it was completely shattered. Even if animals had damaged the bones, they wouldn't have done that. Her skull was shattered by an extremely strong impact of some sort.
A strong impact to the head. That isn't consistent with a drowning.
There's more to it than that, though. During the autopsy, the corpse's femurs were... Right. The femur is supposed to be the most durable bone in the human skeletal system. However, both her femurs were completely fractured. This also suggests that some kind of powerful impact had occurred.
I see. Also, in the area where the corpse had been found, the water level was low, and there are no waterfalls, rapids, or records of floods. There's nothing in the river itself that would cause such damage to the corpse.
Yes, but that's all we know for now. It's risky for us to assume anything beyond that. Little guy, get approval from HQ. I'm heading out to the actual...
Wait, are you going down to the river?
No. She didn't die in the river. The evidence we have suggests that the actual place of death was... Right. This location is the most likely place.
Understood. I'll make arrangements for us to go right away.
Yes, please do so. Now, let's head out. Long skid marks and signs of a collision. What do these tell us? Yes, it's apparent that a car accident happened here. This piece of stone isn't in natural shape. Somebody had to work on this. I feel like I've seen something similar recently. That's correct. The two shards fit perfectly. That clears something up for us now, and that is... Yes, the victim was on the bridge where the accident occurred. There's no conclusive evidence of how she died yet, but this may be a clue. Little guy, does this information tell us anything?
Give me a moment. Let's see here. Blue paint thought to have come from a vehicle was found on the area of the collision along the guardrail. We're investigating what kind of vehicle it's from, but that could take some time.
So this means that a blue vehicle ran into the guardrail here. Any other details?
Well, we can use the skid marks to determine how many tires the vehicle... It seems this vehicle had 2 wheels on the front axle. Behind that, there were 2 more axles, both with 2 tires on each side.
That means there were 10 tires total. Judging from the number and positions of the tires, it must be... Yes. The pairs of tires are for dispersing the weight of the load it's carrying. Thus, this vehicle is designed for transporting heavy shipments.
I see. I'll get in touch with the investigators about this.
Please do. Hopefully they can use this to find other things. There's evidence of having been in a car accident on the victim's body and clothing. That evidence... Yes, that's right. Taking these 2 facts into account, it's quite likely that the victim was in an accident at that place. There's no doubt that the victim had been run over in this case. If the victim had been killed in this accident, how long ago did the accident take place? Right. The victim died about a month ago. If the victim did die from the accident itself would have taken place a month ago as well.
Dr. Kimishima, we've identified who the body was.
Great. Was there a hit in the dental records?
That's right. The victim here is Veronica Cage. It seems she was living with her parents 8 kilometers from where the accident took place.
I see. We're making progress. Has the family been notified?
Yes, that's been done. There was something odd about it, though.
Huh, what's that?
The parents hadn't submitted a missing persons report, though their daughter had been gone for a month.
You must have had a happy childhood, little guy. Every family has its own problems.
Huh. We questioned them just in case. The interviews were recorded. If you need to listen to them, check the voice recorder.
Huh, alright. Anything else?
Oh, one more thing. About the man who discovered the body. Like you thought, it looks like he tampered with the crime scene. We interrogated him again, and he's currently being detained. You can use the recorder to listen to that interview as well.
Alright. I want to know what he'd been doing there.
Sorry. I was, just looking around for anything I might be able to sell. And, then, we found that woman's, his bones near the riverbed. Yeah. Sam was leading the way, and we found that dead body. Huh? Well, hell, I saw the underwear. I mean, it's not that hard to tell the difference. Yeah. The necklace was cracked, so I took the earring. I looked around for a while, but I only found one of them. And who's gonna buy one earring? I can't even sell it. Yeah, you can have it. It's worthless junk.
What a coward. I see. I understand now. He claimed that he hadn't seen the corpse to hide the fact that he stole one of her earrings. This man deserves a severe punishment. I should tell the little guy about it.
I hate to say this when I know you're doing your best to help, but I've always known that something like this would happen to her one day. Yes, we expected it. That's why we didn't request a search or post a reward. I mean, sometimes a machine's just too broken to be repaired. Isn't that right? What, this injury? I fell down while taking a walk. It's embarrassing. Getting old is misery. Anyway, we'd like to go home as soon as we can. My wife isn't in the best of health. I have a bad back, too. It hurts more and more the longer I sit here.
Yes. I'm all right. I suppose that I'd been expecting this to happen one day. My daughter, she was a kind girl, but ever since she dropped out of high school, well, she lost most of her friends and was practically alone in the world. At some point, she started going out almost every night. Sometimes she didn't come home for an entire month. We thought that's what happened this time, too. Oh, this? I slipped on the stairs. Yes, my husband and I are both, getting rather old.
It seems that the victim's relationship with her family wasn't going well.
Dropping out of high school, going out every night? Sounds like a typical delinquent.
That's not the best way to describe it, but I can't say she was well behaved.
Yeah. Did the parents' testimonies tell you anything else?
There's something that bothered me more than just what they said. What caught my attention about the father was... It wasn't major, but there was some injury to his face. And in the mother's testimony, my attention was caught by... Yes, she had some signs of severe bruising as well.
But they both said that they'd gotten hurt by falling down.
You're not paying attention. Take a closer look at both of them. They both have multiple injuries, but each injury is in a different state of healing. This means that... Right. How many people do you know who fall down several times a week?
I see. You have a point there. Then why were these two...
I don't know yet, but they must have a reason for hiding the cause of their injuries. Yes, these two facts do tell us something. It's more than that the person who had found the corpse stole something. There's one more important fact involved with this case, and that is... Yes, only one of the victim's earrings was at the scene. Either it came off somewhere, or she was only wearing one all along. Where could the other earring have gone? 23 years old. She must never have imagined that she would die so young. I don't sympathize with you, but I'll do my best. For your sake.
Dr. Kimishima, we've identified the vehicle from the accident.
Good. That's rather quick. For you guys.
Hey, come on. We're a national government agency. We'll have the recording from the driver's interview later. He pretty much admits to what we suspected had happened. So, case closed?
Easy there. It's too early to relax yet.
What do you mean? I mean the culprits.
Do you think that just catching the truck driver will solve this case?
Doesn't it?
A 23-year-old woman was walking alone in the mountains 8 kilometers from home. You think she was just walking the dog?
Okay, that does sound odd. So the investigation's not over yet.
Indeed. Go look into the parents' hospital record. From the size of those bruises, they would have needed to be treated at a hospital.
Got it. What will you be doing, Dr. Kimishima?
I'm going to investigate the victim's house. Keep the parents in custody until I'm done.
Right. I'll tell the ones in charge right now.
These pieces of glass seem to have come from a mirror. Let's see. Ah, the mirror on the dresser's been broken. I wonder what happened to it. Broken glass? It seems to have come from the mirror on the dresser. A reaction to the luminol. It seems there's something here that isn't part of the broken... It's the same earring that the man who had found the body had stolen. But what would this be doing here? Indeed. All the shattered glass was neatly placed in one area. That means that someone had cleaned up the glass shards. They must have swept up the earring along with the glass. If that's the case, was the earring with the glass pieces when the mirror was broken? In any case, since it reacted with the spray, there must be blood on this earring. I'll need to have the little guy analyze it and see if it tells us anything. It's an ordinary package of breath mints. You can get them anywhere. Still. Just as I thought. These aren't mints in here. These markings seem to indicate that this medication was produced for a pharmacy. I might be able to ask the little guy to find out just what it is.
Dr. Kimishima, we've received the interview with the truck driver from the accident.
All right. How did he seem?
It's easy to sympathize with him. Sounds like a case of wrong time, wrong place.
I see. All right. I'll check the recording.
Please do.
I need to pay careful attention to his account of what happened before and after the accident. What Veronica was doing prior to being hit, and what the driver did afterwards. That's what I should be sure to listen for. Hey, little guy. I need you to analyze this medication.
Yes, of course. Did you find it in the victim's room?
That's right. It looks like it's prescribed medication. But what is it?
Who knows? It's definitely no common over-the-counter drug. I'd suspect that this would have to be prescribed by a doctor before someone can buy it.
I see, that makes sense. This could mean that the victim had attended a hospital. Was the victim suffering from some kind of injury? If our analysis continues, we may find something out. Hey, little guy, I need you to analyze something.
Sure, send it over to me. I see. There's blood on it. The DNA matches the victim as well. Also, this metal fitting seems warped. Could it be worn out from use?
That doesn't seem to be the case. Look again at the bloodstain.
The bloodstain?
It's not on the ornament. It's on the needle part that goes through the ear. If there's blood there that matches the victim, then the earring was...
If that's the case, the damage to the fitting makes sense, but what could happen that would cause an earring to be torn off?
I don't know yet. Still, there must be some connection to everything else here. I think this information may lead us to some more concrete evidence. True. Both of these facts relate to the earrings. The victim was discovered with only one of these earrings, and the other one was discovered in her room with her blood on it. Normally, if someone had an earring torn off to the point that it caused bleeding, they would have to realize that something was wrong. Still, the victim was on a bridge 8 kilometers away from her home. What this shows is that that's right. She didn't leave this room by her own, which she was probably forced out of here by someone else. That could explain how one of the earrings was left in the room. But why would whoever abducted her leave her on a bridge 8 kilometers away? I feel like there's a lot of truth that remains to be uncovered.
Dr. Kimishima, the results of the analysis on the corpse have come back.
Good. Did they find anything new?
It looks that way. The report indicates that the fractures to the femurs and skull, they were all posthumous injuries.
So these wounds were inflicted after she died?
Yes, that's what the report says. Oh, by the way, Dr. Kimishima, about that prescription.
Did you find something out?
Yes, we found which hospital the victim had been going to and requested her charts. It says Veronica had been to the hospital a month prior to her death. Her symptoms were migraines, visual and auditory hallucinations, mood swings, and aggression. It also says she was vomiting blood and had convulsions, along with hemoptysis.
Convulsions? Vomiting blood?
Yes, that's what it says. The doctors urged her to have more detailed examination, but it seems that she had no intention of listening to them. In the end, she left the hospital and whatever disease she had went unconfirmed.
If only her doctor had forced her to be hospitalized.
That's just how things are these days. People don't really get concerned about strangers.
Let's continue with the investigation. Sorry for being emotional just now. In any case, we don't know what disease she had. Judging from her symptoms, it was something severe.
I agree. If we find anything out, I'll be sure to let you know immediately.
You do that. It may give us another hint in solving this case.
What do you want? I didn't do anything. I don't know. A woman. That woman. It's not my fault. I was supposed to drive a shipment to a nearby town. Damn it, they forced me to do it. Why the hell would someone be sleeping in the middle of a mountain road at midnight anyway? It's not my fault. It's not my fault! It stopped, I turned a corner, and she was lying on the bridge.
She was sleeping on the bridge? This seems a little odd. If this man was telling the truth, then the victim had already collapsed there from the start. It doesn't seem like he was lying, but what in the world does this mean?
I slammed on the brakes, but it wasn't fast enough, and I ran her over. I got out of the truck to see, and she wasn't breathing. I panicked, and I threw her off the bridge. I don't know why. It's just... I don't know.
He threw the victim's body over the bridge. This means that the victim wasn't knocked off the bridge by being struck by a vehicle. Yes, both these facts relate to the victim. If I were to sum up the driver's account prior to the accident, the victim was... Right. The victim had already been collapsed on the road, and after he ran her over, the driver... Yes, he threw the victim over the bridge. Little guy, what's the FBI's opinion about this?
He's already admitted to killing her. Why would he lie about that?
Indeed. His account coincides with the evidence I had found as well.
What evidence?
Well, if she had been standing when she was hit by the truck, the fractures to her bones would have indicated a strong impact from one certain direction. In this case, nothing of that sort was observed.
I see. What about the shattered skull, then?
The skull fractures are consistent with a strong impact to the top of the head. It would be unnatural for it to have been due to a car accident. Considering what happened to the victim, it can be deduced that something else caused that fracture. That is... Yes. If she was unconscious when she fell from the bridge, the fracture due to an impact to the top of the skull is understandable.
I see. You're right, that does make more sense.
Yes. However, that raises questions about the victim herself. Why in the world was this woman so far from home? And why would she be lying in the middle of a bridge in the mountains at that time of night?
That's a valid point. I guess there are still some mysteries left unsolved.
Indeed. We'll have to continue investigating in more detail.
Oh, Dr. Kimishima, we were able to look into the parents' injuries.
Good job. What did you find?
Yes, there were records that the parents had been going to a hospital, like you said. Let's see, it looks like they'd started being frequent visitors to the hospital 2 months ago.
How many times is frequent?
Oh, we didn't check every detail, but it was several times, ending about a month ago. The hospital staff seemed worried since many of the injuries seemed to be signs of abuse.
Did they tell the doctors who had been physically assaulting them?
No, they didn't. However, some of their injuries were quite severe. The mother seemed to have suffered some visual impediments due to a wound on her eye.
I see. Further... True, these two do share a common link. The victim's hospital records say she'd been at the hospital since... Yes, 2 months ago. For the month before her death, she'd been treated at the hospital. Now, the parents' hospital records say they'd been visiting the hospital since... Yes, they also started visiting the hospital 2 months ago. Veronica was going for migraines, hallucinations, mood swings, and vomiting blood. And her parents were going after suffering frequent injuries. A month before the victim was found dead, the parents suddenly stopped having these injuries. An unpleasant coincidence, to be sure. I hope there's no connection here. The victim's femurs were fractured in the accident with the truck. Her skull was shattered when her body was dropped from the bridge. We've confirmed that both those injuries occurred after death. From those facts, it's clear that when the victim was on the bridge, yes. Even if she hadn't been run over by the truck, she was already dead. That means that the driver was telling the truth in his interrogation.
Then does that mean that she was kidnapped from her room, murdered, and then had her corpse dumped on that bridge?
I don't know that just yet. We'll need to investigate a little more. Can you do...
Oh, sure. What do you mean by in detail, though?
I just need to know if this fracture occurred before or after.
This must have happened while she was still alive. Take a look at this area here. You can see where it started healing.
Great. I thought as much. All right, thank you. There's no knowing yet if this has anything to do with this case, but I do know now that this fracture occurred while she was still alive. Yes, these seem to be related. According to the charts, the victim's symptoms were migraines, hallucinations, mood swings, vomiting blood, hemoptysis, and perhaps most important, yes, sudden aggressive behavior. That is, she was acting out violently. Her conditions must have worsened severely a month before her death. That is, her violent tendencies would have increased in frequency and severity. In addition to that is the fracture in Veronica's finger. This is the only injury she had while alive. That's a common injury when people hit things with their fists. On the other hand, the parents' injuries seemed like signs of abuse. If I were to consider all these points, those wounds were... right. The hospital records of both the victim and her parents, they show that Veronica had been physically abusing her parents. Yes, we can put... According to the chart from the hospital, the victim's condition caused her to vomit blood. If she had continued to vomit blood after her hospital visit, that would explain the bloodstains on her clothing. Yes. Thus, these bloodstains were caused by the blood that she had vomited. We can deduce the victim's physical state from this information. First, the pathological changes. There's no knowing what disease she had. However, if this discoloration of the bones shows the existence of a focus, it's safe to assume that whatever disease she was suffering from was in an advanced state. The massive bloodstains on her clothes came from her vomiting blood. There aren't many conditions that cause that much hemorrhaging. From these 2 points alone, I conclude that she was already in terminal condition. Even if she hadn't been killed, she was already on the brink of death.
I see. I feel sorry for her, but if that's the case, then why?
Why was she kidnapped? I still have my doubts about that, actually. Did the murderer kidnap her? Or did that even happen?
What do you mean?
Whatever the case, she was definitely taken from her home before she died. The question now is what happened between the time she was taken until the car accident.
Right, I follow you.
Once we know that, we should finally be able to see the real truth behind this case. Little guy, I'm going to check the victim's room one more time.
I thought you might want to, so I have a new tool ready for you.
Someone's prepared. And what kind of present do you have for...
It's not the most appropriate gift for a lady, but it's aluminum powder for finding fingerprints. There are some useful additions to the mixture.
Ah, great. I'm impressed.
I'm glad you like it. Spread the powder anywhere that looks suspicious and shine your investigation light on it.
And that'll make any fingerprints stand out? All right, I'll give it a try.
Good luck. Well then.
So many. These are all the same fingerprints. It's likely they belong to the victim. Now, why would she leave so many fingerprints in... Yes, she was probably crawling on the floor. The prints indicate she was heading toward... The prints on the floor lead to the room's entrance. But what's underneath the mat? Nothing. What could this mean? Just as I thought. These are bloodstains. They must be Veronica. Considering the facts so far, these bloodstains must have been caused... Yes. Veronica's clothing was covered in blood that she had vomited. The amount of blood here is more than would be a fatal loss in most people, but... There's something odd about these bloodstains. Blood is a liquid. It should be evenly spread across the floor. If there was one reason for the bloodstains to be shaped like this, it would have to be... Yes. This door was closed when Veronica was vomiting blood. That's why the blood spread unevenly. This door had been closed when Veronica was vomiting blood. Thus... The room is now in the same condition as it was when that happened. The lower part of the door has numerous scratches on it. What could these scratches be? Huh? Bloodstains? Inside the scratch marks? From looking at the shape and location of these scratches, they are... Yes, these are traces that someone had clawed at the door. On top of that, it was done with such desperation that their own nails cracked and bled. The door was closed when Veronica vomited blood. That, along with the scratches on the inside of the door, there's just one sad conclusion we can reach from all this. Yes, Veronica was prevented from leaving here. Writhing in pain and unable to open the door, she lost a lethal amount of blood and died right here. She wasn't kidnapped and killed. Veronica was crawling on the floor. It's likely that this is because of the mysterious disease she was suffering from. It sapped her strength to the point that she was unable to even stand. She had an attack of her disease inside this room. The dead shall speak. Let's put together the truth of what happened here. A woman's skeleton was found 50 kilometers downriver of the city. The victim's name is Veronica Cage. She was 23 years old. She was suffering from some sort of illness. It caused her severe pain along with mental instability. When she couldn't go on, she snapped and turned violent. This card shows the truth of that emotional state. The patient had frequently physically assaulted her parents. This same disease finally caused her own death as well. This card shows evidence of that final attack. Yes, there were traces of blood at her room's entrance. During the attack, she writhed in agony about the room. The shattered mirror is evidence of that violent behavior. Eventually, her strength gave out and she collapsed. She used the last of her strength to try to leave the room. However, her one final wish was left unanswered. This card speaks to that sad truth. In her fading consciousness, she tore at the door. But she died there, and the culprits carried her body out. The proof of this is on this card. Exactly. The earring caught on something while she was being carried. She was already dead when the earring was torn from her ear. Most likely, her death surprised the ones responsible. They then cleaned the room to hide any signs she was there. But whoever cleaned the room had poor eyesight, and thus did not see the earring among the mirror shards. The body had to be hidden as well. Their plan was to throw the body off a bridge 8 kilometers away. But they were scared off by a pair of oncoming headlights. This culprit, with a bad back, gave up and fled the scene. Those headlights belonged to the blue truck. The driver could not avoid the body and ran over her. The driver believed he had killed her and dumped the body. Ironically, what he did only completed the culprit's plan. This card has proof that she was already dead when run over. Hiding a corpse is a crime, but the driver wasn't the murderer. The ones responsible are those who locked her away to die. She sought help, not knowing that none would ever come. Her last words are the proof of that desperation.
It hurts! Dad! Help me!
This is the whole truth in how her life was cut short. I don't know what the dead want, but the truth must come out. I'm going to see the ones who cut your life's thread short.
The medical examiner. What brings you here?
Your daughter died in suffering. She struggled, she shouted, and she clawed at her door. She tried to escape so terribly that her own nails tore off. Why didn't you open the door?
There was no choice. We wanted her to be happy. We wanted her to be normal. We never thought this would...
Her death may have been inescapable. But you defiled her death in order to protect yourselves. That can never be forgiven. When death came to you, did you suffer? Soon I will know for myself.
Miss Kimishima, your test results have come back.
I see. Let me ask you up front. How long do I have until my flame goes out?
A year at best. Maybe 6 months.
I understand. Thank you, Doctor.
Dr. Kimishima, the helicopter's here to take you to the lab.
All right. Thank you. Rosalia. What is this? Someone's name?
Dr. Kimishima, are you all right up there?
Yes, I'm fine. I'll be right down.